Recording. Is yours already recording?
Nope. Hit that record. You got it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right, Mario. The first one. Excited to have
cool.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Brandon. We were talking about this. I was like, hey, man, who's first one we could start the agent spotlight? They're like, Mario Trevino. He's got a story. He's doing big things outside of real estate. So if you could, we're just going to go ahead and get started.
All right.
What brings you to the Central Valley?
Central Valley. We moved here. We migrated here in high school. I think after my freshman year in high school. I'm from Salinas originally, California. And then my great-grandma moved here. I think she was getting old, so a lot of our family migrated to Madera, Chowchillas, where I moved to, and just surrounding areas. So we just tried to get out of Salinas was one of our main concerns.
Chowchilla. So you went to high school there?
Yeah, I went there.
Home of Cameron Worrell.
Cameron Worrell,
yeah.
Killer Cam.
Yeah.
I see him once in a while. Yeah.
That's cool. So after high school, what'd you get into after that?
Right after that, I applied for a lot of schools thinking I was going to go to like San Diego State, Long Beach, Cal Poly, all these schools. I got into most of them, and then ended up applying for Fresno State. I kind of got scared to move away from my grandma, so I kind of stayed close by. Chowchilla was only like 40 minutes away, so that's what brought me. Just go to Fresno State.
And what'd you study?
Communications.
Okay.
Ended up going the city route for a little bit. Did 1 year at Fresno City and then 2 years at Willow International, which is Clovis Community now. Then went to Fresno State for 2 years after that.
Yeah, a lot of kids, it's funny, a lot of kids think that you have to go to a 4-year college right from the start, and they don't understand that you get it's the same value of an undergrad work as you would at a community college.
With less money too.
Exactly. So after college, you got into what field?
Well, when I was in college, I was always working in the food space, me and Ed's, Poppy's Mex Grill, Rose Sushi Bar and Lounge, just always in serving tables or bar backing. Or busing as well. So I've always been in that space. So right after college, I had my communication degree and just kind of fell into a management role at a place called Farm Fresh Bowls. One of my close friends knew the owner of it, or it was his aunt, and they're like, hey, do you know anyone in Fresno who would love to run our restaurant called Farm Fresh Bowls? They had one in Visalia. Mm-hmm. They were opening one here, and then he was like, Mario, he's been serving tables. He probably would benefit from a full-time job or being somewhere full-time. So he's always bouncing around restaurants, multiple at a time. So yeah.
Service industry though.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it.
Got right into this.
Yep.
So married with 2 kids, what's that like?
It's fun. It's cool. I didn't grow up with parents, so I didn't have a mom and dad. So it's kind of cool to see just the new trends that I'm creating with my family. So having a wife, I didn't really get to see a structured mom and dad life growing up, and then I didn't really get to see someone nurturing me as a kid. And it's so cool to like come home and just loving my kids. And when they say dada, I'm like, that's one of the best feelings for me, because I just imagine myself as a kid when I was crying those out, who was picking me up, who was holding me, who was like comforting me in those moments. And when my kids do that, I'm like instantly just want to hold them, and I'm like, dang, I wish I had that growing up. But it's just it's a whole cool experience.
That is there. When I was in education, there was a lot of kids that didn't have parents around, and you often find surrogates, but it doesn't ever seem to be that full need that a kid that needs a parent, you know. And your journey of becoming a parent, if you can just elaborate on that a little bit, because you have some big things. I saw a guy at the gym the other day, and he was talking about the treatments, and I was like, hey man, my buddy went through that. There's like that's a story right there that touches more lives. Being a parent, you're touching your kids' lives more than, in the impact that they make, but the impact you're making in our community for people that were in your and your wife's shoes. If you don't mind just touching on that a little bit.
Yeah, we struggled for 3 years to have our first son. We struggle with the infertility, and it's a male side factor. So just my boys ain't swimming, they ain't producing enough. So they're not the Michael Phelps, to be honest. And so for about 3 years, we went through treatment. Well, 1 year we tried naturally, and then we went through to see doctors, and then they started putting us on a lot of just supplements and pills and medicine. And then they're like, well, none of this is working, so they made us go through IVF. Very costly, but we know if we had to do it again, we would do it all over again and get our Reeves.
For sure.
3 years.
And so that led you to starting a nonprofit.
Yeah. And with that, struggling through infertility, I didn't know what it was before, struggling with it. I don't think it was talked about. And we just felt so alone. We lost a lot of friends from it. A lot of friends didn't really know how to handle our discomfort or our pain. They didn't really know how to sit with this in it. So we'll go to events like, how are you? And, we're not those type of people like, oh, we're doing good. Life's good, right? Like, man, do you really want to know? Right? Man, life sucks, man. It's hard seeing kids walk around or baby party, baby showers and all that fun stuff. And, man, we were just felt so isolated and alone a lot of the time. So I said, what can we do to like prevent that or kind of change that. So we created a nonprofit called In the Waiting, and it's helping families navigate the in between while trying to grow their family. So we just have support groups, we give out grants, and I mean, we just have a good community from it. A lot of friends that we met through the infertility community, but we just come alongside them and like, hey, we need some love, and we could give that love to them.
And that empathy that you have to have for those people that are going through it, because it's like you said, it's not an easy process. People take for granted. I can just have kids. Like, okay, you know, like, and so many people do. So on that side of it, it's very difficult. Like you said, when you're seeing this, you want to share in their joy, but at the same time, it's hard to, you know, like express such gratitude and happiness, even though you are super happy for them, but there's that sense of, what about us? Like, we want something for us.
Yeah, what's wrong with us? When is it going to be our turn? Is it ever going to be our turn, right? We thought about that. Our wheels are always spinning, and, you know, it takes you down to a pit, right? It really questions your beliefs, who you believe in, and it makes you just think all over again, like, man, it was a tough season. When people don't understand, it's even tougher, right? And we just want people to understand and be educated, and when they don't, because they're getting their yes right away, like, oh, we just started trying and we had a kid. I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
pretty cool.
Just do what we did. I'm like, we've been trying to do what we've been practicing. It's not working.
All the time.
Every day.
And so, and looking at, you know, when you and your wife are dealing with such a harsh truth that you're facing right now, some people, they don't last. Yeah. So what is something that you guys did as a married couple that allowed you to really like dig in on each other and like buy into each other? What are some of the things that you guys did?
I think one of the biggest things is our faith. We leaned into, you know, to God individually. That allowed us to grow together, right? You know, at the end of the day, it's our own faith, right? I have my relationship with the Lord. My wife has a relationship with the Lord. So it's us being diligent in that and our faith. So then we could kind of encourage each other, right? If we're both a mess trying to help each other out, you know, both woe is me or this sucks, right? Then we wouldn't really have perspective. So I think going to the Lord and falling to our knees and say, hey, God, we need you. And this is the tough season. Individually allowed us to grow together for our family, and then allowing people to see, man, they're so strong in their faith. Is like, yeah, we prayed, you know, we had our own relationship with the Lord, and then we came together to straighten that together. So I think that was one of the.
And two, when you look at like, because it comes back to surrender. You have to surrender to what is, you know, and when you do like give it all up to the Lord, saying, hey, man, like, I really, we're struggling. I'm struggling right now. We're struggling together. Can you make me a stronger person? And I think that once you can fully surrender like that, that's when good stuff happens.
Yeah. That's what it was. It's fully surrendering and just being okay if it didn't happen, right? It's like, Lord, if it doesn't happen, if we're never called to be parents naturally, you know, what's the next step for us? Is it adoption? Is it something different for us? Is it ministry, right? I was a youth pastor for so long, and in that way, I felt like these kids were mine. I kind of like you, right? In education, you meet a lot of people without parents, and you're like, how can I be a parent to them, or just for a little bit, for an hour a week, right? And I felt very fulfilled on doing that, and like, you know, meeting kids and then sending them home. But I think there was ways for us, like, if it didn't happen, Lord, what would you want from us?
Yeah, and that's pretty cool that it did happen.
Yeah.
So fast forward sometime, and I guess rewind sometime, you chose Iron Key. And I remember the first time you came in, big personality, little dude, but huge personality, you know, but you came in and it was like, you were all in from the very beginning. What was like that transition from being in the restaurant industry and being a youth pastor to coming into real estate?
Well, real estate for me, it was like I had to survive, right? COVID happened. The restaurant I was working for closed down. They decided that, you know, they were actually busier, but we couldn't get enough employees to work for us. And it just wasn't really making sense for the owner at the time to keep it running. So thankfully, I had a friend who believed in me, like, I don't know, a couple years into the restaurant business. Hey, get your license, just have it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I had it. And then it was like a Lord thing or definitely a God thing, because they're like, hey, we're going to close the restaurant. And then I was like, I need to survive. I need to provide for my family, right? I was making a salary. We're living comfortably, right? And then I was like, now I got to jump into it. So I think that was my biggest thing and then finding a place like Iron Key that just has a culture that I believe in, you know, family oriented. I think, you know, Brandon's really cool. Just allows us to, like, you know, be agents that are free to be themselves and free to lead, free to be educated. And so that's what I fell in love with Iron Key. I just came in like, all right.
And you had no backup plan.
No backup plan. Yeah. Wow. No, I wasn't. Yeah. I mean, the only backup plan I could have thought of was probably applying for another management position somewhere in a restaurant. And I was like, would that be fulfilling? And I was like, well, let me try real estate. I have my license. I do talk to a lot of people. Maybe this could be a good segue into a new career. Try something different, right? I always tell myself, what am I going to be when I grow up? I still say that. To this day.
So and looking at that, and, you know, I've talked to Brandon many a times before we got in the business, and some people's hugest obstacle is having another job.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You had your back against the wall, and you're like, this has to work, and I'm going to give everything I have to make it work. So what was that like? Especially, you guys have been going through this infertility thing. Now, I don't mean to say a thing, but I haven't been through it, so I could only imagine. But with your back against the wall, what did that adversity that, dealing with the infertility and then coming into a situation, I mean, that's huge stress. Like, how did you handle that, and what did you do with your back against the wall?
It's all about mindset. For me, it's like, how could I break the generational sin that I've been through, and how could I provide for a family? And that back against the wall, it's like, I got to get out there and make deals. I got to get out there and meet people. I got to hustle and provide. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want to be like my parents, and not be a provider for my family. So that was a big thing, is like my boys and my wife and just our family. And for the future, like, I never want to live in a position where growing up, where it was hard, rent to rent, didn't know, where food was going to come from, where school supplies were going to come from. Like, I don't want to live that way. And I still have that same mindset. I act like I'm broke, so then I could continue to make more deals. But back against the wall is just a mindset of like, we got to make this work,
And you run your business as a servant.
Yeah.
What is that? What have all these lessons taught you in your real estate business? How you've been so successful? I mean, you've been in the business for over 4 years.
5 years now.
5 years, top 5%.
Yeah.
Ongoing. What are the lessons that you've learned along the way, and how you treat your business and your clients that have made you so successful?
I think at the end of the day, just loving people. I think for me is like, I know, like, growing up, like, I just wanted to be loved so much, right? I just like, there was an eagerness there. Like, I never felt it. Elementary school, middle school, high school, like, man, because people just love me. And then in the middle of real estate, I think, we are working with people. At the end of the day, we're human. And if I could just love on a client, right, and it could look differently in different aspects. If I could just show them value and just like, hey, you matter, you have worth in this transaction. And I think they see that as a human level. And like, this is why we want to keep working with the guy, because he doesn't really care. Like, obviously transaction and, closing a deal, provides for my family. But at the end of the day, it's people to people. We're here one day and we're gone tomorrow, right? Or we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So it's like, how could I just show this person compassion, grace, and mercy in these moments, and just love at the end of the day? So I think love is one of the biggest things that I needed, and now I just give to people and want to give to people, right? I try to fill my cup with the Lord, and it gives us abundantly. And I'm like, how can I, give it to this person, give it to that person, and people are like, why are you so happy? Like, well, I got a lot of love to give,
Yeah.
And I needed it, and a lot of people need it, and they're quiet in their pain, and if I could just kind of give them something, like, all right,
Yeah, for sure. And that's the love is, I mean, it can go on forever. And that's the thing. We have, it seems to be a capacity to love people, especially when we haven't felt it, for a lot of times in our lives. It's like, I have more to give, because there's so much that was lacking that I didn't give, that I wasn't able to get, that I have so much to give people, because I know what that feels like.
Exactly.
Who's somebody in your life that you can look to, a mentor, somebody that the first time you felt that love, like, wow, this is what it means to be cared about?
I think coming into getting married, my wife's mom and dad, I think they've been the perfect example for me. Someone who, they love each other and they love their kids. And, I called mom and dad. A lot of people kind of like, I think you don't have parents, and I'm talking about on the phone. Hey, mom, hey, dad. Like, wait, who's that? I'm like, it's my wife's mom and dad. And I think they just showed me, just grace, mercy, and compassion. And, I look up to that. I think that was the first time, my wife and I have been married for 8 years, and we met, we've been together for like about 10. So it was like 10 years ago was when I started really feeling love. And I think my wife too, just her accepting my story. I remember, like, growing up, going on dates, or even in college, and I'm an open book, right? People want to know who I am. Like, well, here I am. My dad's in prison. My mom's, doing drugs, and my siblings are doing drugs, and, stealing and robbing. And I think girls used to get scared by it. Right. And then when I met my wife, and we sat at Jamba Juice for the very first time, and she was just all ears. She just wanted to listen. She didn't judge. And I felt like, when she contacted me the next day, I was like, all right, she's actually into it. Because usually, to be fair and honest, I feel like a lot of girls like kind of backed away from that, because they didn't want to take the burden. And I wasn't trying to give them the burden. I just want to be honest, because I want people to be honest with me, where they come from. And I think for sure my wife, when I first met her, we sat there for 3 hours at Jamba Juice, and she didn't judge me. She didn't look at me differently. She contacted me back, so I was like,
yeah, that's a beautiful thing, dude, to have that. That Chelsea and I, when we met, it was the same thing. Well, we met, but then there was that moment of conversation of 3-4 hours. We sat there and just opened up our hearts and souls to each other, and that was something. There was a connection there that's beyond a lot of people. And when you fall in love, and clearly you found it, a lot of people don't understand that, like, it's not about who you are and what you can give me.
Yeah.
It's about what you are,
Sure.
like inside. That's who I want to meet. And I think that with that type of relationship, that initial relationship that you got with your wife kind of opens you up to have that relationship with other people. It's not the same, but it's that love that you are able to open up and share is truly beautiful. And I have those kind of relationships, and you do as well, that you can go and build off of that. And people see, like, that's a genuine person. I'm going to get with Mario. I know that good, bad, or indifferent, he's gonna share himself with me, and I might not like it, but if I do, I know that that's fully Mario, and I'm never gonna have to, like, second guess that that loyalty, that trust, that faith. It's a beautiful thing, Mario, that if we have more of that in the world, I think it'd be a better place. Let's move forward. We're gonna get to real estate at the end, but I do realize there was a meeting. You started a new endeavor, and this endeavor brought gifts into the office, and that particular meeting, everyone was super juiced for the meeting. So please tell us, what made you, what's your passion, what made you decide to open up your mountain venture?
Coffee shop. Nurture. I fell in love with the food space at 16. I was working at a pizza place. I was in desperate need of money at that time, junior in high school, not being able to provide. And my friend Danielle, her parents were owners of this pizza place in Chowchilla. I said, Danielle, can you give me a job there? Like, can you tell your grandparents, like, I need money? And she's like, of course. And then I became a shift leader right away as a junior in high school. I'm sending people home, cutting the floor and stuff like that, counting the drawer, doing all this stuff. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And I think that's when I started falling in love with, like, the restaurant world. But then more than that is owning where I was, so I felt like I did so well there, where that's why they elevated me, right, to be a shift leader as a junior in high school, and then a senior in high school, continued that. But since then, working in the restaurant world, I've probably been in 10 different positions, serving, busing, but in Fresno, different restaurants. I think that just kind of engaging with people, as a server, it was probably one of the best things. I still desire to do it, and I think that part of me was always there. So then when I saw the building come up for sale in Bass Lake, I told my in-laws and my wife, let's buy it, and let's open a coffee shop. And and my mom has the same heart. My mother-in-law, she has the same heart for that, and she was everyone was all on board. Let's do it, and we called it Nurture because if you think of the word nurture, and how could we continue to give to our community, continue to nurture them and love them, and so it's always been a desire of mine to own something, because every time I worked for something, like I said, I felt like I owned it because I got better tips if I was nice to people. So I was like, I could do this one day. So it's always been my heart.
And looking back to that first time you got the job, your junior year, there's not a lot of business owners that would come and say, hey, I'm going to trust this junior in high school to do this for me. I think that's like a form of love in and of itself. Like, I trust this kid enough to him to give him such responsibility to do this. So that just speaks to your character, Mario. Honestly, when you go in and you're able to do that for somebody that you just met off of a word of another junior in high school, to say, hey, I got this guy, he's willing to come over here and he just needs a job. We're going to give him the keys. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool, Mario. So the coffee shop, obviously you must be a big coffee drinker.
No, we weren't. We are.
Yes.
Now we are, but we're not like coffee snobs. We'll drink whatever coffee shops around. We like to support a lot of local, but in Bass Lake, there's never been a coffee shop. So every time I went up there, my family has a cabin, or my in-laws have a cabin up there. I'm like, it'd be nice to walk to town, grab a coffee or a pastry, and just walk around, Bass Lake on the trails. And so that's been another desire too. So it was just kind of, we wanted a place where people connect and thrive and grow together. So that vision's been there for a while, since I've married into the family. For 8 years, it's been spewing. We've been waiting for a building to come up or something to come up for sale in there, and it finally did in 2022. We're like, let's do it. Let's put all our eggs in it and put all our money in. And
that was pretty shortly after you got into real estate, huh?
No, I got into real estate in 2020.
Okay.
So I've been in 5 years.
Yeah. So 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, for me in this business, you see a lot of people come into it. They don't start finding that success in real estate for quite some time. Yeah. So you were taking on this new role as a realtor and then started a new business. How you been able to manage, juggle that?
Implementing people, right? At the coffee shop, we were there a lot doing the build out and, getting it going. But once we kind of got it going, we have a manager, we have key leads in position that kind of just take ownership of it in the way that we want them to, right? The way that we would. So it kind of just runs itself now with people in place, and that's what we always wanted, right? We're still a face to the place. We want to allow other people to grow in leadership, so we give them, kind of the same thing they did to me when I was 16, gave them the keys, and like, hey, employees, we trust you guys. This is kind of like your guys' thing, and let it grow with you guys. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been cool.
So shifting to real estate now, what are some key points that you want to address as you've been in the game for 5 years? What are some things about real estate that you really enjoy, and what are some of the things that you see out there and people need to know about real estate?
I enjoy working with people, first-time home buyers. I bought my first house in 2017 with my own funds, with my own savings. When my wife and I got married in 2017, none of her funds, none of her parents helped me. It was all my doing,
Wow.
And it was just a big accomplishment for me. So meeting first-time home buyers who are kind of in the same situation that I was, or maybe didn't have the best hands dealt to them, I just love encouraging, like, you could do it, right? And even if you get help from somebody, you're still doing it, and you're managing this moving forward. So I think that's one of the biggest things is working with first-time homeowners. I mean, I like to work with everybody, but that one is just having people believe in themselves, right? And it just starts with me believing in them, and like, okay, I can see it. So it's encouraging them throughout the way. So,
And you've been considering buying. We got into the business in 2017, and there's been so many changes.
Yeah.
So from being a buyer in 2017 to starting real estate in 2020, what are some of the changes, and how have you been able to pivot in the big changes that have happened in our industry?
That's a good question. Pivot. Yeah. I mean, in 2017, I actually bought with just a lender. I didn't use an agent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we went directly to a lender. My in-laws knew him, and they're like, hey, just use this guy. And I was like, all right, cool, good relationship. So it was kind of a blur, to be honest. I just remember turning in the EMD, turning in $13,000 for my closing,
Right.
for my closing costs and down payment at the end of it, and getting keys to the house.
I'm a homeowner.
And I was like, what the heck, where'd all the paperwork go? But now just like learning the back ends of everything, just how hard it is, right? A lot of people think it's easy. There's so many agents out there. They just think they're going to get business. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is people are going to get into the business and just get business, right? And I thought that was me. I was working as a youth pastor, to a big church. I worked in the restaurant field. Like, a lot of people love Mario. They know Mario, like, use Mario, but it's not that easy. A lot of my business just came from leads that I paid for. Very little referrals until this year has been one of my biggest referral years, where people actually started referring me. But I think it's a lot of door knocking and just meeting people outside of these walls.
And for us, I mean, the referral business it's trust. Somebody trusts you enough to refer their family and friends. What have you done in your business to ensure that trust and to get people to, like you said, this year finally people started coming to you? What have you done in the last couple of years, and even for the full 5 years, to get that to come to you?
I think just being me, right? Be authentic to them. Like, I always share little pieces of my story when I meet a new seller or a new buyer, and like, hey, this is a reality, and it's not going to be easy. So just being honest with them. I think people just need honesty, and not like, hey, they're an agent, so they have it all figured out. I'm like, hey, if I don't have the answers, I got people in the office I could go to. So just being very vulnerable with them as well. Like, hey, I'm still, 5 years in, but I am a pretty good agent in our office, and I think that's one of the things is just trust. Like, if I don't have the answers, I will ask somebody, and just being honest with them. I think people enjoy that versus like someone who just knows it all. Like, I don't know it all.
Even when I was teaching, the kids that were, I mean, I had hard kids. They were from the streets, and they had a lot of teachers that would just tell them an answer.
Yeah.
And the kids would get frustrated and say, how can this teacher just be a history teacher and know so much about XYZ? It's like, sorry, there's no way somebody could know this much. And I think that being open and honest and being able to tell somebody, I don't know, let me get that answer for you. And then I think that there's a sense of strength asking for help. Because as men, a lot of times, we don't want to ask for help.
Sure.
And we get caught in situations like, why am I in this situation right now? Asking for help is a way of, have to humble yourself to do that. What is that obstacle in coming to do that? Because I know you said you've done it, but you do have to look and say, what inside of me has brought me to ask for help? Because it's not just in business. This is also in life,
Yeah, and growing up too, like, I've never really wanted to ask for help, right? Like, got a job at 16, because I was like, who's going to, I could do it myself. But I think just humbling myself and like knowing that it's okay to ask questions. And I think growing up, I didn't feel like I'd ask other people for help. So then, like, I just had that same mindset. Like, I don't need anyone financially. I don't need anyone emotionally. I don't need any of that. But just kind of like, you do need that, right? You need that to thrive, right? People need just connection. And I think that was one of the biggest things. Like, because I felt like if I was asking for help that I was either not educated or they would look down on me or, or like just woe is me. I never wanted to be the charity kid ever. Like, oh, that guy's a charity case. Let's just, give him some money so he can stop asking for us. But then once I realized like people do care for you more. People like they actually love you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And it was just community around me, just friends. And I'm like, oh, so they're not really feeling sorry for me. So I could actually go to them and be honest with them. And that's just kind of breaking my walls down, right? Because at first I was like, I had the wall up of not asking for no help. But now, and I think a friend of mine said, Mar, like when somebody started a GoFundMe page for our infertility, and I was like mad about it. I'm like, no, we will we will pay for it ourselves. We don't need anyone's fund. And someone said, Mar, this is your community, people that you pour into, people that you give yourself to. They just believe in you, like just accept it. And like they're not saying woe is you. You're not the charity kid. You're the kid because they want you to succeed. And I was like, dang.
And that's love.
That's love.
That's feeling love on a different level. When somebody can give in something, I mean, you're getting chills, but that your childhood, you going at this infertility thing and going through the stressors of it, and somebody wanting to help you because they aren't experiencing that. That kind of love right there is something that is like when you feel love, people don't always show it in the way that they might not have learned how to love, but that's their love language, and they're doing like, what can I do for somebody who gives back so much? That's awesome. So going to this office, I know that a lot of from what I've heard, again, I've only been at one brokerage, so I could only speak on this. I've never come across anybody in our office that doesn't want to help and doesn't like offer to help. So I think that kind of makes it easier, but I think it speaks to the people in this office and who you surround yourself with. It's more like a family than it is like a business. We come in here, we truly want to see everyone succeed. So what are some of the experiences in that where you've been able to help, up and coming agents that have come in? Because I hear your name come up a lot. The new agents like, oh, we go to Mario. And I feel like it just keeps turning over the new people that come in. It's like everyone wants to help everybody. But what are some of the success stories that you've had when you've been able to help people?
Yeah, just letting people come alongside me through open houses, buyers consultations, and being open, right? I feel like you're right. A lot of agents kind of think it's like your own business, right? Or like, I don't want you to go on a seller's presentation with me. Like either they're nervous or they just think it's, why are we helping you out, right? It's my own business. But at the end of the day, like you're right, we thrive together, right? Iron Key is one, right? And if all the agents, if the office does good, everyone does good. We all thrive because people in the community will see, man, that Iron Key, they just keep selling things. And it could be the same 10, 15 people in the office, but they don't know that, right? The world doesn't know that. So if we could help out people in here and they could reach out to the Kevins or to the Jeffs, the newer people, they're like, they don't know if Jeff has 1 or 2 sales. They're just like, well, Iron Key's just kicking butt. And it's about Iron Key. So I think just allowing people to, people ask me about my seller's guide, buyer's guide, and it's like, yeah, here it is. I'm not going to hide it. If you want to copy it, if you want to sit down and chat about it, I'm open. Like I'm not trying to hide anything. So I think that's been one of the cool things. And that's when I first got into the business, there was a few people in their office that I looked up to too. And I'm like, man, I want to be like them. And then now it's kind of the reverse. And it's kind of cool to see that.
Feels good to grow at that point, huh?
Yeah.
So is there anything that you'd like to point out, Mario, about, a sales pitch for your business that you'd like to share? Like, hey man, this is, I'm Mario Trevino. This is what I'm about.
Yeah, I think just about community at the end of the day. I try to go beyond a transaction. It's in my bio on my Instagram, going beyond the transaction, not just trying to close a deal, but actually being a resource after that, whether it's looking for a church, looking to get connected, looking for a handyman, stuff like that. It's not, hey, we close a deal, I'll talk to you when you're ready to sell that house that you bought. It's like, how can I continue to help you out through the next couple of years? Because a lot of our business is long game, right? That person you sold a house to might need to use you in 5 years. So how could I stay in front of them? But also build community and make sure that they're still being connected with and feeling like, hey, he didn't just close a transaction. He actually still cares because he's still hitting us up for birthdays. So for me, it's making sure that I message them or comment on their stuff and show them, hey, I'm still around. I still want to be connected. If you need anything, that's why I tell my clients at the end of it, I'm still here. I'm still a phone call away, text away. So.
And what do you have to say to that junior high Mario that was in that space that didn't feel love? What do you have to tell that Mario?
It's going to be okay. I think sometimes when I think about my life now, I just can't imagine, like I couldn't even imagine it, right? Just where I've been. And like I have some siblings that, just made the wrong choices. And I think it's all about, making the right choices and creating the path that, that you want to succeed, right? It's not copying what your, generational generational sins, but just knowing it's going to be okay. You're loved, you're cared for, you're valued, and I think that's one of the biggest things I wish I could tell myself back then when I didn't feel all that. I'm like, you're gonna be right.
Yeah. And that's one thing, we all have value. And the kids that don't see it, it's because they've never been told.
Yeah.
But once they feel it, they finally feel like, oh my gosh, I've always had value.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it because the people around me weren't reinforcing something in me,
Yeah.
But looking back on that, saying like, because I've dealt with, obviously we have a different past, but the same thing. There were times in life where it was like hard.
Yeah.
And I look back and I like feel bad for that kid, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, you showed grit. Like you went through some stuff and like you were gritty and you came out of it. And looking back, like everything's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be all right. Yeah.
And what do you got to say, Mario, in the future?
Keep on hustling. Yeah. Don't just because you have things now, doesn't mean that you've come to full. You haven't fully succeeded, right? There's always something to grow on, educate yourself with, and expand. Continue to provide for your family. So just continue to work hard.
That's awesome.
Till your last breath.
Yeah. Mario, you've done great, dude. Proud of you, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Sweet.
You want to add anything else?
No, that's it.
And this bitch wasn't even recording.